I do got to, get serious for a minute, chat. And one thing I cannot put in the past until I address it is I was out of line on Wednesday night in the series finale. And just in, let me grab my blitz ball because talking like this in normal mode makes me a little bit nervous. But I've been saying some things lately that I shouldn't say. And regardless of, how I approach content and really how I approach content is I despise the word content. And I got a bunch to say here, so just bear with me. This will be probably, a few minutes. Then we'll get into our typical standard thing here. I try to be like as real as possible with you guys because as many of you know, I can't stand the idea of like making content. And I ensure that that's not what this is. So with that, and clearly to a fault, I at least come by the time the game starts and the watch parties, it's kind of my goal to act as if I'm watching the game with my boys. And you guys are my boys. So with that, I say things on camera that I not probably shouldn't say. I definitely shouldn't say. And I got to be better. For those who haven't seen, I mean, you're all there live for it. And I know it probably, you really didn't bat an eye to it because I talk like this quite frequently, which is unacceptable. Blue Jays scored a run. George Springer scored and said, kill yourself. Can't happen. Now, no part of this is going to be me justifying what I said. Because it's trying to be like as real as possible. And some might be instantly thinking in their head like, so what are you saying? That's just how you talk normally, day-to-day life? Yeah, it is. Whether it be, years back with my boys or to this very day with my boys, at least as of, 2 days ago, I should say. I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to work on it. I say things that obviously I don't mean, that I don't think have much, weight to them because I know I don't mean them, but other people don't know that. And that's not their problem. That's my problem. I got to understand that, like I am on camera. And while I don't mean it, I'm not just, on my own here with Yanks Ave. Like, we're not affiliated at Yankees. Like, it's just my Yankees fan page that I made back in high school that's, kind of grown to a point that I'm very satisfied with. But with that said, while it's not tied to it, I am obviously associated with John Boy. And, I'm an editor / producer for them. And it's a job I do not take lightly whatsoever. And of course, we're partnered with MLB over there. So regardless of, just the obvious and that the details of the situation, like, aside, I shouldn't talk like that. And I'm going to work on making sure I don't talk like that. But it's not just me that this affects. So when I say things, whether it be, what I said to George Springer or, some of the language that I'll use, it can't happen. It can't happen. Like, the feeling of putting the company in jeopardy or, like, just, of course, MLB, like, there's two sides of this, or a bunch of different sides of it. One is just that I shouldn't say it. The other is when I say things like that, because I do have association with JM and, with that, technically MLB, they got to deal with it as well. And that can't happen. It's a job, that grateful as hell for, You guys know I didn't go to college. You guys know I wasn't the best student back in the day in school and all that. So for somebody who is in no position to take that for granted, that alone should be enough reason for me to not say the things that I say. And I'd like to think what I talked about with George Springer is the worst of it. But it just, like, I'm too old for it now. And this is something I've been thinking about within the last like year or so. Maybe it's the frontal lobe developing, but I've kind of always had the persona of a hothead, and especially with the Yanks, somebody who kind of freaks out, takes it very seriously, which the latter is certainly still the case and will forever be the case. I care about my family, I care about my friends, and then right after that, it's the New York Yankees. And I guess technically I mean it facetiously when I say I would take a bullet for the franchise, but in a way I don't mean it that way. Like, I live and breathe this shit. But with that said, that's not an excuse to, tell a player to kill themselves when they're irritating me. I've personally apologized to George Springer. And let me say this really quick. This isn't something that I was forced to do. This is something that the moment it was getting out there, and I put like the company in position to where even just taking like 30 seconds out of their day to have to talk to me about it, or whether it be, I don't know, their tweet notifications being, instead of baseball trade rumors, it's, why did your coworker say this, or why did your employee say this? It's unacceptable, and it all stems from the way I speak. And I think part of it comes from, because I know it's just words that I say, that like I do have faith that, like, I always think, now me telling you this doesn't mean anything, like I gotta prove it, but like I know I'm a good person, so I can kind of say whatever I want, because what does it really mean? But obviously it does mean something. And I've seen a lot of the comments. I just got to rid that shit from my vocabulary, yo. Like, it's not cool. And, like, I felt like crap over the last couple days, purely based off my own doing. And it's not just because, the position I put the company in, but, like, some of you guys as well, who have been insanely supportive over the last couple days. I've seen a bunch of those comments, mostly Yankee fans, which, word up. But, like, even you guys having to deal with that. Like, you got shit going on in your day, like, I shouldn't be saying things that put you guys in the positions to have to defend me. So that, applies to you. It applies to like, Jimmy, Jake, Courtney, Plouffe, Rose. These are people that have given me an opportunity that my, at least, educational slash, I didn't go to college again. Like, my resume doesn't suggest I should be in this position. And with that said, I shouldn't be taking it for granted. And that, again, that's one side of it. The other side is, I make sure I'm as real as possible on here, because I hate the idea of, like, creating content. Like, you guys always hear me say the idea of content makes me fucking sick. Like, for many reasons. One, I think it's just, you see a bunch of people making content these days, and it just feels like fake and performative. Like, I never wanted to be about that. And two, I'm streaming all these games. The Yankees are always my, like, that's the time of day I look forward to each and every day. I want to make sure it's the same way I'd be watching if I were by myself or, with my boys, whatever it is. So ultimately, the core issue here is that, like, it is something, like, off camera, I would say, like, player pisses me off, which, George Springer does to a great deal, but what's he doing wrong? Like, celebrating a certain way, and that leads to me telling him, like, yo, kill yourself. Like, I can't just say it's a slip of the tongue. Like, that is how I talk, unfortunately. But that is going to change going forward. Now, I'm still going to be very, like, 100% authentic like I typically am. But, not ideally, what is going to happen is, I'm 25 years old now. I'm not a kid anymore. I can't be saying that shit. So the authentic version of me is going to be somebody who doesn't speak that way. And just, we often talk about on here, I always mention how sports is contained within its own world. So with that said, you can get as crazy as you want because it never actually leaves this world. There are exceptions. Like, you don't tell players to kill themselves and shit. And, I just, that was an L by me, yo. And going forward, I know this is cliche to say, but like I am gonna be better with it. And it's not just a thing. And in a way, I appreciate this all kind of going down. And it really did go down, yo. I mean, this shit was in my newspaper of choice, the New York Post. Kind of is a little bit of a wake up call, yo. And maybe it's something I needed. Because I'm 25 now, yo. Like, it's always been my thing to be the crazy person kind of been like, and Jimmy talked about it last night on Morning. I thought he covered it great. Not making like any excuses for me either, which is the way it should be handled. Like, there's no excuse. Especially coming up, like, whether it be on Twitter, which is what most people I feel like kind of knew before, than like Yanks have. I'm not on Twitter as much these days, but I won't say I boxed myself into being nuts, but it's definitely the persona that I've developed. And as for, some people be like, oh, Dan has anger issues and all that, which, yo, fair enough on the surface. I'll tell you, on that side of things, it's really not an issue, believe it or not, but it's something that I almost feel like I know people watch me for. So, well, I won't say like, I guess the anger and like the way I act isn't real. It's something that I know I can easily like call upon because it kind of feels like my role in a sense. And in some ways it is, I mean, to be completely transparent, like, at least on the JM side of things, like, or Warehouse, for those who watch that, that is kind of, what the vibe is supposed to be for me. Now, again, it doesn't mean it's fake, but, for example, remember when I broke the trash can, or smashed the trash can, blew it to smithereens in Blitzball Battle 5? Like, that emotion was real. I was pissed after losing, and that's how I get. Like, I am very competitive. But, for example, like, we lose the game, I'm walking out, emotion's real, but then, I hear Sam, shout out Sam, birthday the other day, happy birthday, Sam. The other day, not the other day, yeah, her birthday was the other day. But, I'm walking out and I hear her say with her phone camera up, like, I got Rourke, and like, I know the camera's on me, so I gotta, do what I'm supposed to do. And it's like the emotion of breaking the trash can was real, but we always talk about, like, feel emotion, don't act on it. And that's more so in reference to not letting a shitty loss lead into takes, and that's regarding the New York Yankees. But in that case, it kind of feels like what I don't say supposed to do because it's unacceptable regardless, but like that leads to, all right, I got to put on a show here. So it's one of those things where it kind of just has become the way I act, and I think I'm too old for that now, chat. Not going to like change the emotional side of things, but what I always say to you guys, Joe, like sometimes the take is just a good old F-bomb, nice and loud. That ain't going to go away. But, it's pretty hypocritical of me to always be saying that to you guys in regards to like the Yankees and, one bad loss turns into this is the worst team of all time. A take that should just be an F-bomb turning into kill yourself is not something I want to be about. So going forward, it ain't going to happen. And, I apologize. I personally apologize to George Springer and apologize to everybody at the company. Apologize to you guys, too, because, you guys had to deal with this shit. Like, and I appreciate it. Hella people were coming to my defense and all that. But that's my fault. Like, I shouldn't put you guys in that position. You know what I'm saying? So, that's kind of where I'm at then. That's where I'm at on this situation. Like, I really do apologize. I still find Toronto Blue Jays fans to be irritating as hell. But, in fairness to them, if somebody told Aaron Judge to kill themselves, I'd be pretty hot. So, I understand all the reactions for sure. Appreciate all you guys having my back. And, that's kind of my statement, if you will. Totally open to, questions about the whole thing. I don't want to be, like, overly dramatic about it. And if it weren't for the fact of, like, the company, I probably wouldn't be as much, like, coming on here and talking as long as I have. But the position I put them in is enough reason to be very dissatisfied with myself. But, some self-reflection and all that, like, there's many reasons to be dissatisfied. So, again, just want to say I apologize. I'm open to, Anybody who wants to talk about it, by all means. I almost encourage it, yo. Like, I made my bed, I got to lay in it, so. We'll do Yankee baseball tonight for sure. And we got about 15 minutes until first pitch. I better hurry this up, which I clearly haven't done already. But yeah, we'll chop it up like we usually do in the chat every half inning, as we often do. And if that entails some questions about the way I act, by all means. But yeah, again, just one more time, I want to say very sorry for all that shit that I was saying, and gonna be better going forward. Now we transition, chat, into tonight's game. Now, see, now I got to turn it on again, yo. All right, let's do it. So, Yankees begin a 3-game